Praise be Jesus and Mary. Today we honor the great St Augustine, Bishop and Doctor of the Church. He was born in North Africa, Tagaste, which would be modern-day Algeria, on November 13th, the year 354. We know that he had a very holy, devout mother, Monica, whom the Church rightly honors the day preceding this feast, honoring the mother who was greatly responsible for the conversion of her son, Augustine. His father was a pagan patricius, but thankfully later, and also due in large part to the prayers of St. Monica, he too would convert to the Catholic faith shortly before his death. Though Augustine was not baptized as a child or in his youth, he did learn about the faith, was nurtured by the faith by his Holy Mother. She was to pray for her son, for his, full conversion and acceptance of the faith and being baptized one day. She prayed for that for years, or in fact decades, as we know, when finally, at about the age of 33, Augustine was received into the church by St. Ambrose. Early on, Augustine studied grammar, rhetoric, and philosophy. He had a great preference for the pagan classics, was very much influenced by Cicero. He eventually joined the heretical group of the Manichaeans and accepted the double principle of the universe, that there's this good principle governing the spiritual and a principle governing the material, a bad principle as it were. This led Augustine to embrace a somewhat hedonistic lifestyle, even fathering a child out of wedlock. He moved to Carthage in order to conduct a school of rhetoric, and later he would move to Rome to do the same thing, and finally to Milan. All the while, however, Augustine's keen intellect was becoming ever more and more sharpened, and he was eventually able to see the errors of the Manichaeans, and so he abandoned, that heretical position, and he became a skeptic. And he studied also Neoplatonism, was influenced by that, and of course, in the meanwhile, was influenced by his mother's prayers and counsels, and even her physical presence, following him to Milan, so as to ensure that, he would continue on the right path, or get on the right path. A true mother indeed. And also other friends of Augustine were influential in his conversion, having themselves embraced the faith. Of special mention is, of course, the great bishop, St. Ambrose, the Bishop of Milan. He captivated Augustine for his mastery of rhetoric. He was a very powerful preacher, he had a powerful intellect, and he had, on top of that, a fatherly charity. He welcomed Augustine and took care of him as a spiritual father, as it were. In his autobiography, The Confessions, Augustine explains how one day he experienced some mystical experience. A strange voice of a child was heard that repeated, "Tolle, lege," take up and read. And taking up the book that was nearby, the Bible, he flipped through it and read the first lines that he saw, which were from St. Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 13, that is, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make no provision for the flesh to fulfill the lusts thereof. That was a powerful experience for Augustine. It moved him to a full conversion and then to be baptized by St. Ambrose. St. Augustine eventually embraced a monastic form of life, composed a rule that's still in use by many religious communities, besides, of course, the Augustinians. And then he was ordained a priest, then a bishop, an office that he carried out most faithfully for nearly 35 years, preaching and writing tirelessly, extensively, especially against the various heresies at the time, while touching upon nearly every aspect of Catholic doctrine. His works are so many and include, of course, the Confessions, the City of God, works on the Trinity, on Christian doctrine, and numerous letters and sermons. St. Augustine died on this day in the year 430 at the age of 76. We can learn so much from St. Augustine, but one thing in particular is worth pointing out, and that is the need to seek the truth, to seek the truth passionately, perseveringly, and once found, we, for example, have found the fullness of truth in the Catholic faith, to embrace it wholeheartedly and to continue to deepen our appreciation of it, our love for it, and of course to defend it when needed. And certainly today, there's no exception to that. The need to defend the faith, the various teachings of the Church, practically all of them are in need of being defended in some way, but especially the Church's teaching on the family, marriage, moral truths, which the Church boldly, continues to proclaim, being the authority not only on morality revealed by God, by supernatural revelation, but also the natural law. The Church has that full authority to teach, and this is especially important today. So defending the faith and, of course, to promote the faith, to preach it, to share it with others. Let us conclude with some beautiful words of St. Augustine, a sample of his writings. These words are addressed to God. They come from the Confessions, and they encapsulate his entire conversion story. Late have I loved you, O beauty ever ancient, ever new. Late have I loved you. You were within me, but I was outside, and it was there that I searched for you. In my unloveliness, I plunged into the lovely things which you created. You were with me, but I was not with you. Created things kept me from you, yet if they had not been in you, they would not have been at all. You called, you shouted, and you broke through my deafness. You flashed, you shone, and you dispelled my blindness. You breathed your fragrance on me. I drew in breath, and now I pant for you. I have tasted you, now I hunger and thirst for more. You touched me, and I burned for your peace. Praise be Jesus and Mary.